On the evening of October 19, 1970, firefighters were called to a fire at a luxurious hilltop mansion in Santa Cruz, California. But what they found behind the flames was far worse than anything they expected. In the backyard pool floated 5 bodies, lifeless and bound. A respected doctor, his wife, their 2 young sons, and the family secretary, executed in cold blood. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing, except for a chilling message left on one of the cars, typed by the hand of a man claiming to be an agent of God. What followed would terrify a city already haunted by cult violence, and reveal the story of a man who had once been ordinary before he became a killer. Santa Cruz, 1970. A quiet, affluent community, home to families who had worked hard, given back, and trusted in the safety of their streets. But the shadow of the Manson family murders from the previous year loomed over California, and fears of copycat killings were widespread. Among the victims of that evening were Dr. Victor Ohta, a well-loved ophthalmologist, his wife, Virginia, their sons, 11-year-old Taggart and 13-year-old Derek, Dorothy Cadwallader, the family's trusted secretary. 2 daughters, Tara and Lark, were away at boarding school, spared from the horrors that awaited their family that night. When firefighters arrived, 2 vehicles blocked the mansion's driveway, slowing emergency crews. As they put out the flames, blood was discovered on the back deck, prompting immediate police involvement. The pool behind the home revealed a nightmarish scene. 5 bodies floating in the water, tied with silk scarves that belonged to Dr. Ohta, some blindfolded, 1 gagged. Most victims had been shot execution style with a .22 caliber weapon. Dr. Ohta himself had been shot 3 times with a larger caliber, once in the chest and twice in the back. The fire had been set in multiple locations inside the home, but it failed to engulf the house completely. Almost as if the killer wanted chaos without total destruction. Nothing had been stolen, aside from Mrs. Ohta's green station wagon. On the windshield of Dr. Ohta's car lay a typed letter, a manifesto declaring the start of World War III, warning that anyone who misused the environment or pursued material wealth would face death. Accompanying the note were 4 tarot cards: the Knight of Wands, Knight of Cups, Knight of Pentacles, and Knight of Swords. The Santa Cruz community, largely hippie and peaceful, was in shock. People feared another cult massacre like the Manson murders, and investigators initially suspected a similar group. An APB was issued to find the missing station wagon. It was later discovered, burned, and abandoned in the woods, providing a trail to the killer. Police released the typewritten letter to the public, and it was recognized by someone who knew John Linley Frazier, a man who had once been a blue-collar worker, a husband, a father, before a life-altering car accident in the late 1960s changed everything. Frazier became increasingly isolated after the accident. He left his family, abandoned his job, and moved into a small shack in the woods near the Ohta home. There, he spent months spying on the family, watching their every move. Deeply influenced by religious zealotry, the Bible, tarot, mescaline, and LSD, he came to believe he was an agent of God, sent to punish those he deemed sinful. In his mind, the Ohtas, wealthy and charitable though they were, had sinned by enjoying material comforts. And on that October evening, he carried out what he believed was divine justice. The family did not return home at the same time, which worked to Frazier's advantage. Dr. Ohta arrived first, and Frazier subdued him. Next came Dorothy Cadwallader, followed by the 2 boys, and finally Mrs. Ohta. Dr. Ohta pleaded for his family's lives and even offered to help light the fire that Frazier had set inside the mansion. But Frazier was resolute. He forced Dr. Ohta into the pool and shot him 3 times. One by one, he marched the others to the pool, asking each whether they believed in God. When they answered yes, he told them they had nothing to fear, moments before he killed them. Once the murders were complete, Frazier composed his infamous letter on the family's typewriter, set the mansion partially ablaze, blocked the driveway with vehicles, and fled in Mrs. Ohta's station wagon. Frazier was arrested just 4 days later, after someone recognized his writing from the letter. During questioning, he admitted to the killings, claiming it was God's will and that he had done nothing wrong. In court, Frazier attempted to prove insanity. He had shaved half of his head, including eyebrows and beard, as part of his act. But the jury was unconvinced. He was sentenced to death, though a year later, California temporarily abolished the death penalty, and his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. In 2009, Frazier was found dead in his cell, hanging. The tragedy left deep scars. Dr. Ohta's mother, unable to cope with the murders of her children and grandchildren, took her own life. Tara, one of the surviving daughters, also tragically committed suicide in 1977. Lark, the other surviving daughter, appears to have survived and moved on with her life, a rare glimmer of hope in a story marked by devastation. Santa Cruz remembered the massacre not just for its brutality, but for the chilling reminder that ordinary people can be driven to monstrous acts when ideology, obsession, and isolation collide. John Linley Frazier remains one of the most disturbing figures in California's true crime history. A man who went from a normal life to claiming divine authority to execute a family in cold blood. The pool where the victims were found is gone, the mansion rebuilt, but the story endures, a warning about obsession, fanaticism, and the fragility of trust. If you think you've heard it all, the case of John Linley Frazier proves otherwise. Some evil doesn't announce itself. It watches, it waits, and then it strikes.
For more stories, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.